in this lesson, we're going to set the type for the pull quotes that are going to be in our top section where we have lots of facts about our coral reef. Okay, so I'm just right here at the very top of my poster, and you can see that we have just kind of this open area here. This is where we're going to be setting up our quotes. So I want to first establish what the midpoint of this section is, just kind of right across here, and I'm going to do that with a guide. So right now it looks like this is sitting at about 3 1/4, and this is just kind of right in there at 6. So looks like probably just right in here around, let's see, about 4 3/4 maybe is going to be about the middle. So let's go ahead and grab our layers panel, and I'm going to go ahead and unlock the guides layer for just a moment, and then we'll select that and we'll pull another guide down in just so that it's placed on that guides layer. So looks like right in there is going to be the midpoint, and we'll just kind of use this as just a kind of place for where we know that type is going to look good when it's set on this. So I'm going to go ahead and let's pull over. We'll go ahead and select layer 3 because that's what we want to be working on. Go ahead and pull over our Word document, and that's going to contain the pull quotes that we'll be creating. So let's just start with this first one right here. Now this part in parentheses we're not going to be using. It's just kind of talking about what these 3 things are. So go ahead and copy this, hit Control C, and then we'll grab our type tool and hit Control V to paste it. Now notice I'm not pasting this in a box of text because I really want to have control over the actual pieces of the sentence that's here. So there's going to be a little bit of a break in these. So I kind of want to have a situation sort of like what we have up here. So we have kind of starting out with something that's been set in that really tracked out Garamond. Then we have kind of our main call out words, and then we've got some other small text that's more just like kind of that block of text. So we're just kind of going to start here and go from there. So symbiotic relationship really stands out to me as a piece of text that, you know, is really important. So let's go ahead and break it right there. And this has been center aligned, and this is one that I actually want to left align. So let's go ahead and grab our paragraph and we'll set that up just like that. And this I'm going to actually left align instead of center in the column. Now down here we centered in our columns, but I'm left aligning because I want to come in and add some graphics later on that reinforce what these quotes are talking about. So we'll get to that a little bit later. And then this can be broken onto its own part as well. Now this I'm going to set up, this sentence here I want to set up just as kind of plain text that's going to be in a box. So I'm actually going to copy this and hit Control X to cut it, and then we'll grab that text tool again and hit Control, just 1 second here. We're going to create a box for that to go in. So we'll go ahead and draw that out and hit Control V just to paste that into a box. You can see how that treats it differently than just pasting it into a large line. And this is going to just give us a little bit more control over the way that we'll set that text up. So it's okay right now. It is overset. That's what that little plus sign means. We'll go back and fix that in a moment. So let's go ahead and just kind of start working on the way that this will be looking. So we know that this coral has a part we are going to set in that Garamond style. So I'm going to go ahead and just highlight it, grab my eyedropper tool, and we'll eyedrop this piece right here. Now that is going to set that as a centered paragraph because that's how this one was set up. So we'll go ahead and come back in here and change that to left align for everything, just so that will remain the same. And then let's go ahead and break symbiotic and relationship onto 2 different lines so that we really have just kind of this nice looking piece right here. And we'll go ahead and grab our character panel and make this a little bit tighter there. And I think that symbiotic relationship would look good if it was actually not all caps. We've been doing a lot of that. So let's come in here and turn that all caps off. And we'll just leave this as lowercase. And let's go ahead and I'm going to set this where symbiotic is actually sitting on that line at its X height. So just kind of like that. And then we can also just come in here, maybe pull this down a little bit more just to make that smaller. And where you see symbiotic in relationship, I really want that to kind of come up in there a little bit higher. And let's maybe make this bigger. So right now, this is sitting at 28. Maybe let's just bump that up a little bit there. And now let's kind of zoom in on this. I'm just Alt rolling that in and make sure that that's lining up nicely with our grid. So that's sitting right on that line right there. And I think something nice that we could do is maybe play with the actual kerning of these letters to make this line up a little bit better. So we have this really straight line here where the M and the L, I think we could cause those to line up a little bit better. So I'm going to bring that Y over a little bit. We'll bring in the E, and then let's push over the L. We can push this just a little bit farther, and you can see that that's really just lining up nicely now. And even though the tracking or the kerning looks maybe, you know, a little bit different from this letter to this letter, having this straight line looks really nice together. I really like the way that that looks. And we can even do this a little bit on the other letters as well. So trying to get this T to kind of fit up underneath there would be nice. So just kind of playing with that until you get that to look right. And I'll just kind of go in and fix a few of the other letters that need a little bit of help. And I'm just holding Alt and then clicking, hitting that left arrow key just to kind of pull that in. So I really like the way that that's looking now. And we have our coral has A as kind of this top line here, and then symbiotic relationship is being called out. Now I'm going to go ahead and just double click in that between small, and by double clicking it's going to highlight everything in that paragraph. Then we'll grab our eyedropper tool, and I'm just going to eyedrop the coral has A, and then we'll come in here and set this up. So again, this is kind of just body text, so I don't want this to be all caps, so we'll go ahead and turn that off. And also between does not need to be capitalized because this is still all one sentence even though we're breaking that. So I'll go ahead and make that lowercase. And then I'm going to double click everything again, and let's just take this down to a 0 for its tracking. We'll kind of pull this up a bit so we can see that line, and obviously way too much space there in the leading. So normally it's a good idea to go 2 points higher than your font size. So if we're sitting at a 12 point for our font size, we could do 12/14. But I think the 12 is still probably a little bit too big. You can think of, you know, when you print out a paper on a Word document, the default is usually 12, and that's pretty large. So let's take this down to 10. And then we'll put it over 12. So 10/12 for our font. And let's just go ahead and pull this up a little bit just so that's not coming down there quite so far. And you'll notice that that red little box there on the corner went away. So we're not worried about having that issue anymore. And I don't think we need quite so much tracking. Maybe we can line this up here so the A is kind of coming in at the end of that. So let's just kind of bring this back in. And if you wanted to, you could pull out a guide really quickly just to see if you got it right. That looks pretty good. And then I'll just delete that because I don't want that guide to be there forever. So now we've got this really nice little thing going on here that we've set up. And now it'll be really easy to set up our other pieces just kind of based on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll just copy these and drag them over to fit in our other two places, and then we'll just replace that text. So our next piece of text is going to be coral reefs are known as the rainforests of the sea. So coral reefs are known as the is pretty, you know, I feel like rainforest is the main word here. We know we're talking about coral reefs. So let's just go ahead and copy the coral reefs are known as the, or even just known as, and then the rainforest can be its own part. So we'll go ahead and highlight this. We'll hit Control C to copy that. And then I'm just going to highlight this part and hit Control V. And then we'll hit Enter just to make sure that stays down there. And this is actually a little bit large to fit here, so we may want to come back in, and that's sitting at 12, so maybe we'll take this down to 11, and we can maybe just bring this in a little bit further. And that's at 290, so I'm going to come over here and we'll make this one 290 as well. Still feels aligned with this other part here. And then we'll change this, instead of being on 2 lines, let's just change symbiotic to the word rainforest. So we'll bring this back over here and we'll have the rainforest as this part, and we'll just hit Control V to paste that. And then of the sea is going to be a lot shorter than what we had on our first part, but that's okay. We'll just go ahead and hit that. And this one, you know, we've got just about that much space kind of in between here, so let's just bring that up to that same point so that kind of is just fitting in there nicely. And you know, I don't even feel like this has to say coral reefs are. We could probably take this piece of text out and just have known as the rainforests of the sea. And at that point, we probably would want to have our word the up here and take it out at that point. So, you know, we're just kind of changing this up a little bit to make it feel like it still matches with this piece over here, but now it's just a little bit shorter and just kind of looks better in this space. We'll be able to add a nice graphic here. Now, depending on who you're working for, you may not be able to take that freedom of just, you know, taking something out if you feel like it could fit better. But I've written this document myself, so I'm not too concerned about editing it as it needs to be. So probably just wrote that so that it could have, you know, a little bit more cohesiveness as a whole sentence. But we already know we're talking about coral reefs, so we can just, you know, edit that down a little bit. So let's do this for our last one. I'll just go ahead and let's see, how do we want to break this? Probably again, we can take out coral reefs and just start with home. So home to 6 of the 7 types of the sea turtles in the world. So I'm just going to kind of start with the text home to, and then 6 of the 7 seems like the really important thing there. So we'll go ahead and just copy home to, and then we'll paste that, move that down. And so 6 of the 7 types. So we'll just do 6 of the 7 here. So I'm just copying that. And then we'll paste that, 6 of the 7. And then types of sea turtles in the world, we'll just paste in this area here. And an easy thing we can do just to make those match up is to simply align them. So I can go ahead, and we know they're the same size. So if I just come up to align and do a vertical align top, whoops, make sure that I'll just undo that. Make sure that you don't have it aligning to the artboard. That's what's going on there. So align to selection, align top. So now that's sitting in there nicely. Looks really, really good. So we have a little bit of, you know, kind of a shift here. So maybe we'll have a small graphic here, and then we can have a larger graphic here, and then maybe do something kind of here on the edge. So we've set up those pull quotes here in this lesson, just kind of getting that top part sort of fleshed out a little bit more. And then later on, once we get those graphics, it's going to feel a lot more balanced. But, you know, I'm just kind of set up that rule here that we were going to left align everything and set, you know, that top word on this kind of baseline that we created, and we're still abiding by the grid by aligning to that that left edge there. So it's going to feel really cohesive once we get the rest of our information in and start populating some of these other cells and columns that you see here. So in our next lesson, we're going to set up another pull quote that will be sitting just kind of in this area here, and you'll continue to just see the resemblance that we've kind of set up for this first set of pull quotes. So we'll talk about how to do that in our next lesson.